Good afternoon, everyone. Great to see so many familiar and old faces. I'm pleased to be here today with Nathan from Legal & General to talk to you a bit more about activating AI and their journey with Tealium and how they're going to achieve those particular goals. I've personally been with Tealium over a decade in various roles, and from the beginning of January I've taken a role within Bob's team. Bob will be presenting tomorrow, specifically with the aim of educating ourselves, most importantly from you guys, our customers, and giving you insight into what our customers are doing, when it's very real, what they are doing today with AI, with our platform. So my wish really for the next 24 hours, 48 hours, is that you leave DV with an understanding of what may be possible today, with some case studies and some proper ROI that you can take back to your bosses in how this ever-evolving space can function for you. So in the absence of a time machine, and this is the machine from Back to the Future, for those of you who were around in 1985 when this came up, we were actually sat in this, not actually in this particular building, but actually down in the coffee area where you've already been half an hour ago. June the 12th, 2014, we had our first customer-facing digital velocity in EMEA. I think we had around 50 people there, including Tealium. Some of the guests are here today. I recognise some faces that were there, some prospects, some partners. Been a kind of eventful journey. Both Jeff, Mike are here, and we're presenting today and tomorrow with this as well. So in 2014, as I say, we showcased Audience Stream. It was actually kind of the launch event, I guess, 10 years ago for that particular market at the time. We didn't really know it at the time. We called it the Universal Data Hub. But that became a CDP, and everything that everyone knows about today for the customer data products basically was pioneered, we like to feel, within these walls. So while we can't predict the future, I think there are, from examples that have already been given, there are components actually within our platform that can help. The propensity modeling, for example, that we've talked about. So I'd like to give you some examples of AI and ML active, how it works, what we can do, and some tangible examples of how we've had that function in our customers so far. So back to today. If we take a step back as to what my actual role is, my role, as I say, is to hopefully take feedback from you guys as to what you want, what you're being asked to do, what the charters are that you have. We have a strategic plan within the business, and I sat down with Jeff and Ted and the executive team back in November to kind of discuss. We know where we're trying to go as a company and what our kind of bigger vision is, but actually the role that I was doing within the customer success team had a lot of other duties, obviously, but it kind of became apparent that there was a need to have a role that specifically is kind of what I'm doing, which hopefully will resonate with you guys, that you can take some content that we've produced today, some of the use cases maybe that are actually tangible, and take them back to your own businesses with some of the ROI that we're giving. So in order to bring it to life, there are numerous ways that you can integrate AI and numerous concepts maybe that some of you may be familiar with. We've already talked a bit, Ian's talked about the propensity modeling. I'll go into a few examples of kind of how that can work, and more importantly, what are the KPIs that actually implementing that kind of system can generate. Next best actions, another thing. And again, these aren't necessarily separate. Obviously, at the moment, you understand that someone's likely to churn, for example, then what do you do about it? Do you do something in the moment? Do you divert them to a different channel? Or maybe the recommendation, if you like, to take the third example here, that comes up in the email is then pertinent to that particular message too. So propensity modeling, if we take that take that as the first case, we're seeing this used in the telecom industry. We've already talked about some of our existing customers in the financial service industries as well. And we've got some interesting use cases actually already published, which I'll talk about shortly, around booking uplift in the travel industry and cancellation avoidance. So if you think about if someone's unlikely to cancel, then that's kind of a churn prevention kind of spin on the same thing. So as I say, while they're not separate, a combination of these three can bring wonders. So I guess propensity modeling is kind of the nearest thing, if you like, we can get to a time machine, because it's trying to predict whether or not a future event's going to happen. And propensity models essentially using all the good data sources of the stuff that the first panel talked about. All of those rich attributes that we capture can be fed into a system to generate what could be potentially some basic rules. Or we could start to use components like our Tealium predict, for example. So that's a layer that sits on top of audience stream that can allow us to model the particular profiles and decide whether someone's likely, more or less likely to achieve a certain end goal. And then when we talk about fully AI powered, this is where basically what Ian was showing with the whole kind of the customer data warehouse integrations as well. So maybe there's some live context that we want to bring in as well. So maybe how close is someone away from their renewal date, for example? Maybe if it's 18 months away, we don't want to be sending that kind of retargeting email, for example. So real world key benefits, obviously improved customer targeting is fundamentally what we're trying to achieve here. With TUI, there's a use case published a couple of years ago where they've used this modeling to generate a 400% uplift in their conversions or in their booking process. And what they were doing was using the likelihood of that booking to prevent cancellations. Actually, what they were doing was serving offer coupons as well. And they had the concept of people being able to cancel a booking within 24 hours of booking a hotel, for example. That's the time maybe to then send through a booking offer. So we also have a large telco, large telecoms client running in Germany. They had a potential hypothesis in the case study was if someone's likely to buy but kind of wavering, so not definitely going to buy, not definitely not likely to buy, but somewhere sat in the middle, what could they do? And they've seen a double-digit uplift in the call center conversion rate when they target those specific audience. So we've seen how propensity modeling can be applied, and now let's talk a bit more about next best action. So we're seeing this in the financial insurance industry, elements that Nathan's going to talk about shortly around cross-selling of policies and deciding how to route people based on risk through certain policy types, for example. If there's an offline process that has to be done, then maybe you don't want that to happen online, or it can't happen online. And again, Nathan will talk a bit more about that. And then within the travel industry, seamless integration between online, offline, and call center is possible, basically. And we think it's something that's valuable for you guys to understand a bit more about. So in essence, what is a next best action? It's essentially building or guiding, deciding how you're going to route someone through a journey, basically towards some form of endpoint. So what we can help do is enhance that decision making and ultimately to improve customer experience. A basic example would be the cart abandonment process. You can simply do that with basic rules. Ian's talked about the complexities of how that whole journey can be done through with AI. So depending on which elements of our system and what third-party providers technologies you have, for example, you can begin to plug those pieces together. So when we talk about actually what's the benefit of this, obviously improving customer conversion rates, we've already seen hundreds of % lift on the TUI use case with the next best action then combined with the elements that Nathan's going to talk about. We've seen double-digit growth in other industries, travel being a prime example. But for many of you who may have been here last year, we had Barcelo Hotels on stage. And this is a QR code to their content from here. So what they're doing is a combination of fueling their newsletter, just the left-hand side here, fueling the main app and web booking process, and then combining these 10% booking offers basically within here. They're consistent across each of the channels, and B, once someone actually calls into the call center, there is a historic context of why that person's called in, what were the venues, what's the offer they've been given, and again, in their example, double-digit uplift on the conversion rates of that population. So the third component in here is probably what most people are familiar with, product recommendations in the context of what people will have been familiar with Amazon. So people who bought X also bought Y. But what we can now begin to do if we combine product recommendations with wider content that a particular organization may have, it could be content, for example, or it could be re-ranking search results. We've even seeing customers that are altering the actual kind of the user experience based on what the recommendation components are feeding through. So I'll give you some examples within the retail industry. Brand monetization is also becoming a concept as well with the retail media, so being able to kind of begin to monetize some of the traffic you're getting through. And then within the entertainment industry, curating content for streaming platforms as well is another example of where we've seen some successful rollouts in Europe. So we've seen how suggesting the most relevant products can move the needle. Again, the most basic concept could be rule-based. So people who bought X also bought Y is relatively simple to achieve. We've seen integrations with things like the dynamic yield platform, for example, one of our sponsors here. They can help determine what the products are going to be or what the content's going to be that someone sees at that point. And then the third way, the more advanced mechanism, could be to use data being fed in from a customer data warehouse, maybe combining all of these three components and topics together. So what would be the key benefits of each of this particular operationalizing, I guess, would be this operationalizing AI model is kind of the future, I guess, as to where we probably want people to get, but there are steps that you can take on those journeys. So we have a large streaming sports platform, set-top box system within Germany, for example, where they're curating billions of personalized content recommendations. Originally, they started using us during the football last year, but they're a relatively short subscription. It's easy to cancel. They've got 24-hour subscription, month subscriptions. It's very easy for someone to look at the content, watch what they wanted to, and then cancel. So they're using real-time customer data warehouse, modeling within the data warehouse to decide what's the next best piece of event, in their case, what's the next event that they can recommend to that person that's going to keep them on that platform and keep their subscription renewing. So retail as well. In terms of monetizing, retailers, and we've got the likes of Screwfix, part of the Kingfisher Group, B&Q within the UK, they obviously sell their own brands and they sell a lot of other brands. So being able to curate the experience of what recommendations you get based on what you bought before, potentially, and then they're introducing AI concepts that can actually link to where someone lives. Do they tend to do click and collect? What's their local branch, for example, could be a use case for that. So to summarize, many of the use cases for these key three approaches operate best when blended together. So when we blend them together, in theory, from the customer experience point of view, everything should become seamless. We've already mentioned the DV app. Hopefully you've all downloaded that now. A lot of the activities that you're doing within the app, the content you're looking at, are beginning to build your actual profile. So for the best experience that you can have today, we're hopefully showcasing that to you, and this is what it will look like if you haven't already looked at it. These are the agenda points on the left-hand side on the dashboard. Nathan and I's faces up there, our presentation that we're going through today. You have the capability to give feedback, give content, etc. through the app on here, and then in real time we'll thank you for your feedback, and then you get recommended content, typically use cases, some of the content from previous DVs maybe that's relevant for you. So my colleague Mark Gray will be, after the coffee break, is going to be covering this in more detail and give you some examples of kind of how you can use that. And the Genius Bar is here tomorrow and outside. So hopefully that timing's worked. I'm now out of time, and I'll hand over to Nathan. I look forward to talking to any of you that are here today, tomorrow. We're here for 48 hours or so. And I'll hand over to Nathan to talk about the moments that matter using AI and how they're embedding Tealium at the heart of their essential data infrastructure. No.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much, Simon. And I do have to say sorry firstly, because I think I'm in the way of you guys having a coffee break. So stick with me, and hopefully by the end of this, you'll have something to talk about at the end, because I want to try and take you through how we're using Moments API now and what we want to do with it in the future which hopefully you guys can take away for your use cases and AI initiatives you have in play. So I work for Legal & General, and at Legal & General, we have lots of different products based around sort of insurances and pension annuities. And what I think it was Chris said in the first one with Lloyd's, they probably have a similar problem to us. We have lots of different domains, and our customer journeys go across these domains. The problem with this is it creates a really complex architecture when you have so many different domains. You have different dev teams, all working to different sprint times and sprint goals. They have multiple release cycles which may not align with each other or yours. You're at the center trying to bring them together. And it also creates tracking issues. And if you have multiple domains, you've come across this. How do you make sure you know who the customer is on domain A when they've gone through to domain B? The problem is new domain, new cookies, new customer. It's a tale as old as time if you're in our industry, I suppose. We've solved this for our analytics. We haven't quite solved it yet for our optimization and our customer experience, so that we can make sure that we give the best customer experience when we're going through. This is where we started looking at Tealium, because Tealium is everywhere for us. It's one of our initial primary implementations when we build a new domain. So how could we use Tealium to help with this? And first, we have to try and solve what the problem is first. So I want to take you through one of our journeys, which is our pension consolidation journey. Pension consolidation is a great product for our customers because it basically allows our customers to go into their past, get all of their pensions, and bring it under one umbrella with L&G. This is really good for our customers because it makes life easy. It's really good for L&G because it adds more policies to our portfolio. The problem with this is it's across two domains. When you log into your account for your pension, you will be on a subdomain of landg.com. When you go through to consolidate your pension, you go to myfuturenow.co.uk. Still an L&G owned domain, just a different domain. This inherits all of the issues that I just mentioned. And we need to find a way to make this better because we surely can make this better. But first, I want to try and take you through the actual customer journey for this. When you first get your L&G pension, you'll be asked to register, and you'll be taken into our registration page for the My Accounts area. So that takes you into your account where you can manage your pension. When you're in there, you'll have lots of different prompts. One of the prompts being to transfer in a pension. This will take you directly to the pension consolidation page I just mentioned. And as we said, this is on a different domain. This means that they're a new customer, which means everything is lost from the previous domain. And the very, very eagle-eyed people amongst you might notice that we've got a sign-up button in the top corner, meaning that we're asking you to register for a second time in the same journey. I'm sure you can imagine the frustration of going through this. So L&G has to try and do better than this. Because when you register, we ask for certain bits of information. Some of it, your current address, national insurance number, you'll probably know when you're going through it. Your workplace pension policy number, though, you may not know. And we actually see this as a struggle in our analytics. The registration journey, which is quite simple, has only a 20 to 25% conversion rate, which is not very good. We know our customers fall apart on that point. We know we have that pension policy number somewhere for them. How can we deliver that to the page in real time to make sure that they can go through the journey? That's where Tealium's Moments API comes into play. Now, Tealium's Moments API is a secure endpoint that allows you to host a very small amount of Tealium's data so that it can be brought to the page in near enough real time, 0.5 seconds, to allow you to bring that to the page and increase your customer experience. To do this, we know on our logged in area that we already collect a customer ID and that pension policy number. That's already being collected via Tealium's normal collection points. When they go through to My Future Now, we will pass that customer ID over securely, enabling Tealium to pick it up. Tealium can then pick it up and put it straight into its Moments API call, which will happen quicker than the normal Tealium call. And this can be picked up from anywhere on the page. If you put in a query parameter, your data layer, cache it, you can pick it up and put it in. This will then allow us to bring back the pension policy number in real time to the page. So as that page is loading, we can fill in that policy number. It's not groundbreaking, but this will massively help our customer experience, and we are seeing customers already registering quicker. We were challenged at first, can we do this for our internal dev teams? The first, as we mentioned before, we have divided dev teams. So you'll have your accounts area, and we've got that My Future Now area. The problem with that was that the My Future Now dev team is very, very, very limited in resource. So it wasn't even possible to do, along with some of the other issues that we found. The main point of this, though, was that Moments API was very simple to implement. Tealium has all the hard work in its database, and we just need to use the simple line of code, that one URL, where you put in your attribute ID and your attribute value of that customer ID, and it goes off and pulls back what you want to the page. But nice, simple, and easy. So now we've done our proof of concept, shown it's working. What do we want to do for the future of LNG to try and use Moments API more across the business? Firstly, we want to do this with more of our applications. Lots of our applications starts in the logged in area and takes you through to really complex bits, which we should be helping support fill in. We can now prove that's done, and we can use this across more complicated architecture. We're planning to do more optimization in real time. Bringing stuff to the page so quickly will allow us to use Tealium to segment our audiences so that we can give the next best action in real time for our optimization team. And also, one at the bottom, which is supporting our call center team. We've got a wealth of data in our Tealium database. We want to give them access to that so that they can be supported on this. And also, it's going to help with our AI strategy. Simon just talked about how people can use Tealium to support their next best action and their propensity modeling. I want to try and take you through a Gen AI proof of concept that we're going to try out over the next year with our customer center team. So I just talked about pensions policies, but with life insurance, when you go for a life insurance application, only 70% will actually be accepted and put on the books at the end of the journey. 30% go to what's called our underwriting team. Our underwriting team will have to examine and go into detail into your medical records, extra tests that we do, proof of earnings, check your blood pressure and blood tests. Or if you're lying about smoking, you might get a nicotine test, so beware. That is a grueling task. We have a team of experts who troll through this. And just to say how hard it is, some of those medical records can be 300 pages long, and you're looking for one sentence in that whole thing. So how can we make this better? We know that we can use Moments API with a customer ID. We know that we can send that and get a small part of that database back. What we want to do is send the customer ID into Tealium. So they'll click a button on in the call center. It will send that customer ID into Tealium. And with that, we'll send in a couple of keywords for prompting. They'll go into Tealium. They will then get forwarded onto the medical records, which will be pulled in. Because one of the key issues we have with this is we can't just have medical records and AI sat together. You can't just put that all in one place because, yeah, regulations. So we have to make sure that it goes into the medical records, picks out the profile that you're looking for, streams that in anonymously into LNG's AI, which will be in a secured area. Once it's done that, we're using the prompt keywords that the call center gave. It will then build the prompt, go through all of the medical records, 300 pages, however many it is, pull back exactly what you need, summarized with where to find it, what page it's on, what agenda point it is in what document. That will go into Tealium, and then will be sent back to our call center team. so that they can get a quick, easy, summarized view, and they'll know exactly where to find what they're looking for in the database. So it will always be reviewed by a human with support from the AI system through Tealium. This is just the start of some of our AI journeys. As a lot of people have said just today, a lot of different areas are using AI. We're looking at how we're going to use it into the future. And if you want to hear more about this, our Martech Director, James O'Keefe, is going to be taking you from hype to hope and telling you how LNG's AI is going to be moving forward into the next year.